Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Apple sheep everywhere. We're live on Tailosive Tech, and this is kind of an interesting one because it is probably the last live stream we're going to do before our reaction live stream for WWDC 18, which means that essentially, if you didn't know, there's a lot of new subscribers since the last Apple keynote. It's actually been a while. It just kind of sank in for me that the last Apple keynote was the iPhone 10, and that feels like forever ago. So, whenever there's an Apple keynote, we live stream our reaction to it here on YouTube. If you don't want to watch our reaction, by the way, you'll still have the Apple keynote like down in the corner here so that we can see it, you can hear it. But if you don't want to watch our reaction to it, it'll still be on Apple's website. You don't have to watch our reaction. So if you don't care about that, you don't have to watch it. But some people really like it because a lot of these keynotes can be very boring. They can drag out. They can be full of a lot of fluff, and you kind of want to get all that over with. So watching it with someone else, like a reaction type video, like we'll be doing, is kind of fun because it makes things more interesting. You get to see our initial reactions to unveilings to things, which can be sometimes pretty crazy. But yeah, this will probably be. I don't plan on doing a live stream before. Other than this one, I don't plan on doing a live stream before WWDC live stream, which will be on Monday, which is not long, just like 4 days now. Krista White, thank you for being our first super chatter of the day. The Most Average Gamer says, yo, you're doing the other ideas. I don't know what you mean by the other ideas, but if you have suggestions, please let me know on Twitter. It helps me a lot. But yeah, we get thousands of suggestions a day, so I can't guarantee that I'm going to do everyone's idea. But if you have some that I feel like I can elaborate on or I can talk more about, then I will do it. And if I can't, then I just won't, and that's how you know. Don't you have different shirts? I do have different shirts, but for when I'm doing tech stuff, I like to wear my tech shirts because these things are cheap. I don't get discounts because they're my branded merchandise. So I'm still wearing them so that I can advertise themselves, so you guys can know these are available in the description under the Apple Sheet merch link. So those are available for you. What time will WWDC be? It will be 10 a.m. this coming Monday, Pacific time. So mark your calendars. In fact, Apple tells you, Apple's even advertising it on Twitter now. But our live stream, our reaction stream, we're going to try to do a little bit of a recap and a little countdown. So our tech stream will start at 9:30 a.m., 30 minutes before the keynote. So usually those types of live streams we do every year are the biggest. Those are what most people end up watching out of all the live streams this year. Like on streams like this, where I'm just asking and answering your guys' questions. Usually we get 200, maybe 300 people if it's a good day. These live streams, typically we get up to 700, 800, sometimes 1,000 people watching. So they're really crazy. So that'll be interesting. Will Apple's new screen technology be on the next Apple Watch? There were talks for it for a while, but now they're saying that micro LED isn't quite ready yet. So I'm still expecting the Series 4 to be a bit of a redesign, but I don't know if it will be as drastic as everything Apple Pro may make it out to be with the no bezel design on the Apple Watch. I don't think we're going to get that. It might be a slight design upgrade, but yeah, we'll see. I had to get on Drew's level with the logo. I love your logo, by the way, Viper. It looks awesome. Good job on 95K. Well, thank you. That's thanks to you guys, and we're very close to 96K now. Pretty close. Will you pick up a Pixel 3? If it's the good design I talked about in my Pixel 3 video with the same size bezel all the way around, if they do that, I'd be very interested in it. If it's just big old chin, big old notch at the top like the hardware leak suggests, I don't think so. I don't think I really care. I've used phones with notches and chins before the iPhone 10 came out. I don't know. I'm just not that interested if they don't take an original design approach. If they do, I'm very curious. But if they just do what everyone else has been doing this year, I don't know. Vladen says, what's your iOS 12 wish list and what do you expect? Thank you, Vladen. So I'm still working on the iOS 12 video, and I'm just trying to accumulate what everyone on Twitter and in my comment section is all asking for the most. And I've been trying to figure out what you guys want. I haven't really taken much time to figure out what I want. I kind of try not to imagine many UI changes because if you go online and you just look up any iOS 12 concept, you see everything Apple Pro sharing concepts, and you see iUpdate OS sharing concepts. And the concepts they come up with are so cool and so interesting, but it just gets your hype way up here, and you can't really lower that hype once you see what it could be. And they're like, oh yeah, they should do that. Oh yeah, they should do that. Oh yeah, they should do that. And if they keep doing that, when it actually comes out, you're most likely going to be disappointed. So I'm kind of like, no, don't give me too much of that. But yeah, I've seen a lot of those iOS 12 concepts that I'm like, if they did that, that would be pretty cool. Being able to group the notifications in the lock screen and the true dark mode, and the removing the labels on apps and the home screen and stuff like that are things that interest me. Or different UI changes that kind of make things even look 3D but 2D at the same time. It really doesn't take much. You could just look up iOS 12 concept, and most of them are ones I would like to see. But yeah, I'm worried, guys. iOS 12 is not going to be a major update. I think if anything, they're probably going to focus on stability. I hear everyone talk about how they want Siri needs to be better, Siri needs to be smarter, Siri needs to do this, this, and this. Yeah, Siri can do better things. There's no limit to what a digital assistant can do. It's just, will people really use it? Apple's had Siri the longest, and they've definitely not made Siri a priority. And I think that means that Apple is aware that Siri does not improve sales. And when you're a business, that's what you have to focus on, things that improve your sales numbers. And iPhones are still some of the most successful products of all time, and yet they have one of the dumber digital assistants. So Apple knows that putting more investment and more time into Siri doesn't necessarily result in a better product. But half of the iOS 12 ideas I've heard are all for just the iPhone 10. It's like people aren't really acknowledging that iOS 12 is primarily going to be going on iPhones with LCD displays and iPads. Like the iPhone 10, while it's the most futuristic one, it is just one model. Like there's more iPhone 8 and 8 Pluses when you combine them than there are 10s. There's more iPad Pros that have LCD displays. There's iPhone 7s, of course, that will all be getting iOS 12. iPhone 6s, iPhone 6, they'll all be getting iOS 12. They all have LCD displays, and yet half the ideas for iOS 12 are all about what to do for the iPhone 10. And I understand, because the iPhone 10, since it has OLED, it has all this potential. You guys want the always-on display. You want the ears that can be removed for the notch. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I guess iOS 12 is supposed to be the iOS that's going to be running on later this year's iPhones, and there will be more iPhones with OLED later this year. So, yeah, I'm kind of just hoping for a surprise. I really don't want to get expectations too high. But anyway, Most Average Gamer says, new Mac Pro, there's lag on Mac Web Touch Bar Magic Key. There's lag on Mac Web Touch Bar Magic Key. I'm trying to understand what that says, but we could get an exclusive first look for the redesigned Mac Pro at WWDC, given last year we got iMac Pro, and we didn't think we'd be getting that announcement as early as we did. Basically 6 months in advance, letting us know that this December, this thing will come out. And what they meant by that was on the last 3 days of December, the iMac Pro would be ready. So perhaps we'll get a first look at the Mac Pro, and they'll say it's coming in this winter. I think that's possible. Should I get a new MacBook Pro now that it's rumored to not be refreshed? Ethan, don't take rumors as scripture, okay? Like, just because I saw the reports too. Just because on Twitter there's people saying there won't be new iPads or new MacBooks at the keynote, that is completely a rumor. Don't immediately start buying one now. For all you know, we could not get a new MacBook or a new iPad at this keynote, but they could get massive price reductions. If they just decide, you know what, these have been out for a while, we're going to reduce the price on them, they're going to make them cheaper, then buying one now is a terrible idea. At least wait to find out, because keep in mind, like, before the Apple education keynote they did back in March, there were several reports saying that there wasn't going to be a new iPad, and that a gold iPhone 10 was like a week away from being released. There was a gold iPhone 10 on the way, and the redesigned budget iPad, that's not coming until Q3. That was from like Kuo, right? Ming-Chi. That was like, everyone was like, oh, there's not going to be a new iPad, there's going to be a new gold iPhone 10. Completely wrong, completely opposite. There was a new budget iPad and there was no gold iPhone 10. So he was completely backwards on that. So never be like, especially right now, a couple days before a keynote happens, take anyone's claims as absolute certainty. That's you're really, really reaching for that. Anyway, Dino says, hi, why did you sell your MacBook Pro and will you get a new one after they are unveiled at WWDC 18? And will you upgrade to the new iPhone 10 Plus in the fall? And what do you think of the new Show Me, right? Or Mi 6 that copied the iPhone? Okay, there's a lot to unpack there, but it's a big super chat, so thank you. I sold my MacBook Pro because the footage we're editing with the Blackmagic, the 4K at 60 footage that takes up 200 gigs if it's a 20-minute video, that really wasn't doable on a MacBook. All of the videos I was editing were tech videos or hello worlds and stuff like that, filmed with that camera. And if I wanted to edit footage with that camera, I basically needed the iMac Pro. I needed something that could handle that efficiently. And part of it is just the fact that the MacBook Pro only had a 256 gig SSD, which I would fill up like that every day because that camera records about 200 gigs of footage a day between all the channels we make content for. And on top of that, the MacBook Pro is just much, much slower. So exporting all of that type of footage on a computer like that, it's just not practical. It's also, even if it could edit it just fine, I don't edit things on the go like I used to. I have an office space now. I have a desktop now that's so much faster. There's very few instances where I need to go somewhere else and also work on videos. Most of the time, if I need to work on videos, I'll just be at the office and I'll be working on them. When I'm done, I'll leave. It's a lot easier for me. Back when I bought the MacBook Pro, it was when my house, back when we were in the attic and we were living back there, working out of that, there was really no Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was so bad that we canceled our Wi-Fi package that I couldn't upload videos. So basically, I needed to edit the content, take the laptop somewhere else, and then upload it there. So having a laptop was very useful for me back then. Now it's not. So I was just having it sit around. It wasn't really doing much. It was pretty good at live streaming stuff for our Twitch, but it was pretty loud. And we could tell that a dedicated iMac, which isn't as loud but has a lot more processing power for the money, would be more usable than the MacBook. So the MacBook was basically here just sitting around not being used. I was using my iPad if I wanted something large and wanted to consume media on it. I didn't need a MacBook anymore. So I sold it because we could get a lot of money back on it, and we did. It worked out. So now that money we sold the MacBook Pro for is being used for the new iMac that's coming out at WWDC. If there is a refresh of any kind, we'll be getting that one, the 27-inch one. And then, yes, I'll be getting the iPhone 10 Plus later this fall. That's my go-to phone. And yeah, I saw the Mi 6, and yeah, it's a very blatant copy of the iPhone 10. It's just, I don't think Apple's worried because no one's going to buy that phone. So they're not concerned. Anyway, 12 mil. I'm sorry. I see your super chats, guys. I'm a little bit behind because you guys are asking a lot of questions per super chat, but I'll try to get to them. Give me a sec here. 12M says, do you have a separate browser for uploading to YouTube and a separate for browsing? If you do, please name them, or do you just use one web browser? Yeah, so YouTube is pretty dumb still. And basically, if you're uploading a video to a channel, which we have like several, we have many channels, and if you open a different tab and then switch to a different channel, now that upload won't work. Because even though that upload is uploading to Tailosive Tech in a different channel, if I switch to Tailosive Talks in a different tab, now the upload will not work. It'll keep uploading, but it won't save and it won't publish. So yeah, whenever I'm uploading or live streaming something, I'll usually use Chrome. I don't like Chrome for consuming stuff, but Google puts all these exclusive perks and additions and add-on buttons that are available in Chrome that they don't allow Safari to use, like watching vids at 4K at 60 and the go live button from the homepage and stuff like that. So yeah, when I'm doing creative stuff like uploading or live streaming, I'll use Chrome. But then for basically everything else, managing Twitch, managing YouTube, managing Facebook, Patreon, all that stuff, I'll just use Safari because I like it. It's faster. It's more intuitive for macOS. Anyway, most average gamer says there's lag on Mac Pro website and Magic Keyboard. What does that mean, there's lag? I don't understand. I'm sorry. I appreciate the super chat, but there's lag on Mac Pro website. Let me go to the Mac Pro website. No lag on my end. It's a very old website. I don't understand why it's still there. Anyway, Liam, thank you for super chatting. I don't see a comment attached with it, but thank you. Jesse says, what got you into Apple in the first place? It really ran in the family when I was growing up. See, we had computers, not like this. If I could tilt the computer more, but right off that camera, we had the beige box, the Macintosh Performa. That was just the computer of the house growing up, and it always had cool programs and stuff that we would try to use, and we enjoyed using. So we're still I just kind of grew up with it. I just kind of grew up knowing that Apple was the computer company. It didn't happen for a while. It didn't click in for a while that different companies existed. So when I went to friends' houses, when I went to school, I found PCs and they were so much cheaper. I asked my parents, I was like, can I get a PC? They're cheap. And they were like, yeah, but they're going to die very fast. And I didn't believe them. So later in my life, I got a PC, died very fast. And then I did believe them. And I've tried. The thing is that the thing that keeps me coming back from Apple is the alternatives. A lot of people think that I choose Apple just because I don't know enough about the alternatives. I have tried all of them. I've tried Windows 10. I've bought a PC. I've tried customizing that PC. I've bought Android phones. I've used Android phones. I put my SIM card in Android phones. I've tried to customize them and take advantage of the rearrangeable home screen and that I can change launchers and I have all this customization in the UI and I have all these options, and I just don't care about that stuff. You alter it for like 5 minutes and then you get used to it and then it's nothing. And what you really want is something that works reliably and gets iOS updates every single year, something that's just consistently supported and it doesn't get discontinued after 2 years. And we all know when something's going to come out. See, if I was a Galaxy S9 user, there isn't some WWDC I'm looking forward to. There's not some event where we're going to see all the changes that are coming to my products. Whereas being an Apple sheep and being into Apple, it means that when WWDC happens, I'm going to be seeing all these changes and all these updates coming to my watch, my Mac, my phone, my iPad. All these things are going to be changed, and hopefully for the better. And usually, in my experience, it has been a better experience. IV Raxo says, just supporting this amazing channel. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I say dub because it saves time. Thank you, Garix, for big old super chat. Says, do you recommend customers to buy refurbished Macs and iPad? I do. If you get them from Apple, they're usually like brand new. Apple certified refurbished is almost like not even used. So yes, I highly recommend those. Let's see. Retro36 says, howdy, Drew. I got an idea for Tailosive merchandise. Where can I contact you about this? Great work on your channel. Been a sub since the beginning. For a new iPad Pro with Face ID at WWDC. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. There's lots of reports saying that won't happen. But yeah, basically in the About section of the Tailosive Tech channel, there's an email for businesses. So please feel free to check that out there or on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter. So if you tag me with your idea there, I'm most likely going to see it. Anyway, I doubt you remember me or not, but I'm Muse from the podcast that was upgrading from a Nexus 5X to an iPhone 10. Well, cut to a long story short, I'm getting the Pixel 2 XL for a camera. I mean, at least, you can get the bokeh artificial thing the Pixel 2 has on any Android phone, right? That package of AI that they put in the Pixel, you can now root on other Android phones. So I really don't advise getting a Pixel 2 XL because you're only going to get about 2 years of support and then it's going to be discontinued. For one, the Pixel 2 has been out for a while too. So if you have to buy a Pixel, it's going to get refreshed in October. So it's kind of late in the game to be buying one, to be honest. And no wireless charging, dude. Like no sophisticated face unlock. That old colored display problem. I really don't recommend it. I really don't. You can get the bokeh effect of the Pixel 2 on any Android phone. It's not exclusive to Pixel. I don't. DxO Mark doesn't even think Pixel 2 is the best. Did you know that S9 Plus has a higher score and it's cheaper? I just think that's funny. Anyway, Lucas says, will there be 3D Touch / Taptic Engine on the iPad Pro? I don't think so. We keep expecting that to happen and it doesn't. So I don't think there will be any. I don't think there will be any surprise with this one with the Taptic Engine. It'd be cool if there was, but I'm going to guess that there's some reason they haven't adopted 3D Touch or the Taptic Engine in the iPads at this time. So if they haven't done it yet, there's probably a big reason as to why they haven't. Let's see. How big of a HomeKit user are you? Can we see your app? Yeah, I use HomeKit for the lights in our office pretty often. Yeah, I got my stereo HomePod set up on the desk, which is cool. We've got living room lights. This is basically our app. We've got Tailosive HQ. Something's not responding right now, and I'm not sure what it is. It might actually be an old HomePod I don't need anymore. But yeah, that's basically, I don't know if you guys can see it. It may not focus very well, but I have the HQ. If I tap this, the office lamp turns on. There it is. I like that I can change the brightness of it like this. It'll go down, it'll go up. It's right off camera there. And we have that light strip for a podcast room, and then we have a light in the kitchen that is all controlled by this. But yeah, I use my HomeKit stuff every day. Anyway, let's see. Let's go up in super chats. I'm a student getting ready to go to college. What do you recommend, 12-inch MacBook or MacBook Pro with touch bar with base specs? It really depends on what's more important to you. If portability is more important, which believe me, the 12-inch MacBook is very light and very small. It's very easy to pack around in places, especially over a MacBook Pro. It's extremely light. Then the 12-inch is probably going to be fine for what any college student needs. But again, don't buy one right now. Wait for the keynote. MacBook Pro is if you plan on doing like video editing and stuff. Like if you plan on some processor intensive stuff, maybe some like gaming, a MacBook Pro is the better way to go. So either way, wait for the keynote, wait for new prices, wait for refreshes that may possibly happen. If they don't happen at the keynote, then you're good. Then you're clear. But yeah, the 12-inch MacBook is really just good for portability reasons. It is not a very powerful computer. It's just a very small computer, which is cool. Just an old HomePod. Well, the HomePod that's not connected to the HomeKit is the one that we have dedicated to the Apple TV over there, the 4K one. So it's just tied to our HomePod, and we listen to all of our YouTube videos and movies and TV shows. Everything we watch on the Apple TV is connected to the HomePod. So that one, I have the Hello Siri feature turned off because when I talk to Siri, I don't need the TV speaker to go off. So maybe that's why it's not showing up in the HomeKit app. So it's not that we're not using it. It's just in the TV stand. And it works great. We like it. Fastest boy says, now you got it, Deb. Got it out of the way. Got that out fast. Apple Sheep, get AirPods now unless you want to wait for AirPods 2 or wait for the original AirPods to go down in price. I don't think the originals will go down in price, but the real only reason you should wait for the second generation AirPods, which really the only change, the only difference is the wireless charging that lets it support AirPower, not Qi, just AirPower. If you have a Series 3 Apple Watch and you have an iPhone 8 or 10, you don't need to wait for the second generation AirPods if you don't have those two things, because otherwise you'd be spending $200 on AirPower just so you could charge your phone and AirPods, or just so you could charge your AirPods if you don't have either. So don't wait for the second gen AirPods if you don't have a Series 3 and an iPhone 8 or 10. If you have those two things, I can understand why you might want to wait, because that's what AirPower is for. So you can charge all three of those things at once. If you don't have those two things to start with, though, don't bother waiting. Just get AirPods now. They're fine. Drew, the new iPhone will just be called the iPhone, by the way. No more numbers behind the iPhone franchise. They will just be called the 2018 iPhone. What do you think about this marketing strategy? I don't think anyone knows for certain, Sam. I think that's a rumor going around. I've read the same rumor. But at this point in time, last year, we thought the iPhone 10 was going to be called the iPhone 8, and we thought it was going to be called the iPhone Edition. There were plenty of leaks to support that, and it ended up not happening. So there's nothing set for sure, but it also sounds like Apple to name something iPhone. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what happens. I don't like it. It makes naming things and referring to things too confusing. I don't like it because it means now we have to refer to iPhones as the year and the screen size, just like what we do with the iPads, because they just keep calling them iPad Pro with no specific name title other than iPad Pro. That means we have to refer to it as the 10.5-inch 2017 iPad Pro, which is just too much of a mouthful. Whereas if they said iPad Pro 2, iPad Pro, I don't know, 3 or whatever, iPad Pro 10, I don't care. Just something more specific, we could refer to it, and us tech journalists would in the past know how to refer to these devices more specifically. But when they just call it iPad, when they just call it iPhone, it gets confusing fast. So I really hope they don't do that, but Apple's not good at naming anything. So I wouldn't surprise me if they did that. Are you just going to continue using the Product Red 8 Plus as your daily until the 10 Plus, or are you going to switch back to the iPhone 10? Christopher, thank you. I haven't decided yet. I'm still using my 8 Plus, and I'm liking it a lot. I have no complaints with it. The 10 is the best phone. I don't think the 8 Plus is better than the 10, but that by no means makes the 8 Plus a bad phone. It's still perfectly usable, very fast, very efficient, great recording, great camera. I've taken all my vlogs recently over on Tailosive Talks. Please check that out. If you want to see, like, the iPhone 8 Plus is still a great camera, great interface. I'm enjoying it. It's not that it's better than the iPhone 10. It's just not horrible, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm letting my editor/friend Xander use the iPhone 10 for now because he has a 7 Plus and he wanted to try the Qi charging and the Face ID. Letting him use it because I want him to be able to use the greatest and best stuff, which is fun for him. And I want him, when the iPhone 10s come out later this year, to be able to decide if he wants to get a 5.8 or a 6.5-inch iPhone 10 Plus. So this will give him good experience with that. So I haven't gotten to the point yet where I need my iPhone 10 back. Like, the 8 Plus is great, but I need the 10 for this feature. I haven't got there yet. Every time I switch and hold my friend's iPhone 10, though, I'm always like, oh, this is so cool. I love this. But it's never like, okay, I'm done with my 8 Plus. I'm just done with it. I haven't gotten to that point yet. So yeah, it's very possible that I might just keep using the 8 Plus until the 10 Plus comes out. That might happen. Let's see. Avertify says, to add to my previous question, I'm coming from a 2014 MacBook Air with i5, and it's fine, just old. Will the MacBook work if the Air suffices? If your MacBook Air spec-wise is fine, then, like, the 12-inch Mac is not like so slow it's unbearable. It's just, I wouldn't even call it the Chromebook of Apple notebooks. It's really like, you can edit 4K content on a 12-inch MacBook. We've done it. We tried it, and it handled it pretty well. The big bottleneck, though, is just exporting. Like, if you wanted to edit 4K videos on Final Cut Pro with a 12-inch MacBook, it could do it. It would just take 30-40 minutes to export a fairly average video. So that's where you're going to get a bottleneck, but it's not that it can't do things. It coid do things just fine. If you wanted to do gaming, I mean, use GeForce Now. It's possible. Why do you think the iMac Pro does not have Touch Bar? I'm a huge fan of it, and the predictive text helped me when I'm writing an essay in terms of my dyslexia. Yeah, I miss my Touch Bar. I really wish my keyboard for my iMac Pro had one. My guess is, given that adding a Touch Bar to a MacBook Pro rakes up the price like $300, that if they were to make a Magic Keyboard with a Touch Bar, it would likely cost $300 plus, and they just figure that's too much work, and you'd have to charge it more often. And not that I wouldn't mind. If you're asking me, I would love that. I would gladly be okay with a $300 keyboard that you have to charge every 3 days, or even every day if that's what it takes. I would enjoy that. Maybe make it wired, but Apple's not really much about wired stuff, so I think they prefer the wirelessness of the current Magic Keyboard. But yeah, I agree with you. I wish it was a Touch Bar. I miss my Touch Bar, but I'm guessing it's just financial reasons. They just can't afford to make keyboards that have that much display on them. Do you think Apple is eventually going to take over the world with their version of every type of product and things? No, they're very successful, and they're the most rich company in the world, but they still have way too much competition to become anywhere near a monopoly. And just look on YouTube. They're one of the most hated companies in the world too. They get so much disrespect, and they have so many people who boycott them, who leave them because they don't do what they want. Apple's by no means, I think, a monopoly in any way. They really have competition in every market and in every field. They have very valid and worthy competitors. I don't think they're better, but a lot of other people think they do. So that's what matters, is that they have a lot of competition. I don't think they're taking over the world anytime soon. How many HomePods would you recommend for me? 1 for each room or 2 for certain rooms? Please give me advice. Also love your channel. Keep it up. So Lucas, it might be a good time to wait as well, given that there are potentially a Beats branded HomePod going to be unveiled at WWDC, which is completely possible. Look, if you're lagging and no one else is lagging, Pineapple Juice, that means that your internet's bad, not mine. So you don't need to spam it. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, what was I saying? There could be some cheaper HomePods unveiled at WWDC, meaning that because HomePods, while they do sound amazing and I love their sound quality, keep in mind, I understand why they didn't sell terribly well, because it means they are very loud speakers, meaning that if you're just looking for something to control HomeKit devices and you're not really looking for something to be very loud, or really, if you're not looking for sound quality to be, HomePods can be a little bit overkill. And if you want to just control HomeKit devices, you might be good with just buying one HomePod and then doing the rest from your phone or your Apple Watch, and Siri's on there. You can control all your stuff from that. So there's no lag for a lot of people, guys. So keep that in mind. It may be on your end. This is possible. There's nothing I can do to fix lag. It's just, oh, button. Sorry, I had lag checked. My bad. It can be on your end. Anyway, I don't know if, unless you plan on playing loud music that sounds really good in lots of different rooms, then buying a HomePod for every room really isn't that functional. Like, yeah, it's because we have all three HomePods in the same room. I've got two on my desk and I've got one for the TV, and they've just become the speakers for this stereo pair on my desk, which are linked together now. They play music for when we're hanging out in here and we're talking, or I'm walking and closing my rings, listening to podcasts, stuff like that. These are perfect for that. They fill this very large room with really crisp sounding audio. And then when we watch TV and we watch TV shows and YouTube, HomePod connected to the Apple TV works great for that. I don't know if you necessarily want a HomePod for every room though, because that would be very loud setup and a very powerful setup for rooms that you may not always be in. Sam says, what do you dislike about Apple? Lots of things, like the VESA mount adapter for the iMac Pro. I don't like their naming scheme. I don't like the 2018 iPad. I don't think it's functional. They should have just sold a $400 iPad Pro from 2016. I don't like that they released an update that disabled iPhone 8 screen, third-party screen replacements. I thought was messed up. I don't like the iPhone 10 folio case. I don't like the name of the iPhone 10. I think the iPhone 10 was too cheap. I think they should have included better things with the purchase and made it more expensive, like a fast charger and a Qi charger and AirPods, and make it $1,100, $1,200. I don't care, because more people would have bought it anyway. At least they wouldn't be complaining that a $1,000 phone comes with a 5-watt charge brick. So yeah, there's a bunch of things Apple does I don't like. Their marketing, I don't like their marketing. Their marketing's weird. I don't think it's effective. I don't think they need to do marketing, and yet they do it. Yeah, Viper really doesn't like his HomePod. It's in timeout. Yeah, I watched your video about it. Like, I didn't realize that you often would watch videos in your camera roll connected to your HomePod. That's just never something that I thought about doing myself. Why did Apple remove the DVD drive? I need it for my floppy disk. Now I can't run my backup cassette tapes. Yeah, see, like, Apple thinks they know what's best. And some people get mad about that. But the thing is, Apple's always been that way. Ever since the 80s, they've removed things that they don't think we should be using, even though lots of people are still using them. So it's just removing the headphone jack, removing ports. That's so classic Apple. I'm surprised that people are still shocked by that. The PK Project says, how did you come up with the name Tailosive? There's a video explaining the whole thing. If you just go to your search bar, search Hello World, episode 7. This is on our Talks channel, where we talk about things not related to tech. And there's a big Tailosive T that says Hello World episode 7 there on Tailosive Talks. And it's a long story, so if you want to know the explanation, that's where the word Tailosive came from. Avertify says, what specifically do you not like about the 2018 iPad? I like it. I'm actually using it to watch this. There's not something specifically wrong with it. It's not that it's just a terrible product. It's more that I don't think that just adding Apple Pencil support and charging the same amount of money was a good idea. We don't need to spam Mighty Squad when no one else is having lag. It's on your end. What I don't like about the 2018 iPad is that it's a $330 device with the primary new feature being buy a $100 stylus, which is counterintuitive. It's like the Apple Pencil's great. I like my Apple Pencil, but if you're making an iPad for budget users, the focus should be on the focus should be on the features with that iPad, not this iPad's really cheap and affordable, and you can spend $100 on a pencil, which the pencil's great, but it is by no means for like everyday people. I think it's really good for artists and people who draw with it. I don't really think it's good for just anyone who's looking to buy an iPad. I think instead of allowing Apple Pencil support in just making it $330, you can still find these out there. The 2016 iPad Pro, the 9.7-inch version, I'm going on Amazon right now. You can find them for $400. And in my opinion, for like, even if it's like $430, that is the same price as buying a 2018 iPad and an Apple Pencil, because that's $330 plus $430. Wouldn't you rather have no Apple Pencil, but you get laminated display, you get stereo speakers, you get a better camera, you get a true tone display, and if you desperately do want an Apple Pencil, you can get one and it will still work with it. But I just don't think that making an iPad that acted like Apple Pencils are things everyone buys and everyone wants an Apple Pencil, I don't really think that's true. I think more people would have appreciated the laminated display, the true tone, the better camera, the stereo speakers. Those are things I think people would have noticed. Noticeable improvements from the 2017 iPad, whereas this 2018 iPad and 2017 iPad, near identical, nearly no changes other than Apple Pencil support and the A10 chip. I get it, but the 2016 iPad Pro does have a little bit slower of a chip with the A9X, which isn't as great, but it still is going to be getting iOS support for years and years and years. So you could also have the smart connector if you wanted a smart keyboard with the 2016 iPad Pro. I just think instead of discontinuing that, I'm looking at the link right now. Apple, this is brand new, by the way. This isn't used. Apple iPad Pro, 9.7-inch, 32 gigabyte Wi-Fi, just under $400, $398. That is cheaper than buying a 2018 iPad and Apple Pencil. I don't think the Apple Pencil is something that all consumers need to buy. It's really good for professionals, but not for everyday people who are just trying to find a good, cheap iPad. They would have been better off just refurbishing and keep manufacturing and selling this iPad from 2016 for the price of $400. I think more people would have appreciated that. Anyway, would you mind sharing the battery health on your 8 and 10? My 10 is already down to 94, and I hardly ever cheat charge. I'm puzzled why my battery is down to 94%. You know, this is the reason I think Apple didn't want to tell you guys your battery health, is it makes everyone paranoid. Keep in mind, it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal for phones' battery health to go down over time. That's just how batteries work. It's completely normal for that to happen, and you're not even close to being down throttled until you're below 80%. Your CPU is not being down throttled right now just because your battery health is at 94%. Your phone is still working perfectly fine, no problems, even though it says 94%. They did this because of all the lawsuits and people getting mad at them. So they're like, okay, now you can check your battery health. They add that. Now everyone gets paranoid. Oh my God, I'm at 94% already. My iPhone's at 94%. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Your phone is not being slowed down. Mine is at 100, but keep in mind, my iPhone 8 is not as old as all your guys' phones because it was manufactured in March, whereas your iPhone 10 was more likely manufactured in October, November time period. Donk says, I'm a small tech channel made using only a phone. I love Apple for making computers friendly enough for homes. Now they are art pieces that are more functional than the competition. Now they are art pieces that are more functional than the competition. S Pen is great. S Pen's for Samsung, but I'm glad you like Apple's for making computers that are good for homes, and thank you for the donation. Hope it works well for you. Why do you think Apple won't refresh the iPad mini? My little nephews have it. It's a perfect form factor for kids. They should refresh it and sell it as a budget iPad. I'm with you on that. I personally think that the budget iPad should be an iPad mini. I'm not sure why they want the budget iPad to be a 9.7-inch version. Maybe they found out that more people prefer that size for some reason, but the primary reason I'm sure they haven't updated the iPad mini is just the sales haven't been good enough. The Mini 4 is still being sold, but they're trying to get rid of them, you can tell, because first of all, iPad minis start at $400, and it's because they only sell them in 128 gig configuration now. That's the only way you can buy them is 128 gig. which means that I think they made a bunch of iPad mini 4s. They didn't sell very well, but especially the 128 gig versions, like no one bought those. So now they're only selling the 128 gig versions because they stopped making them and they're just trying to get rid of them. They're just trying to move on from them. They're like, let's just get rid of these mini 4s. They're not selling very well. I think the primary reason less people are buying iPad minis is because iPhones got bigger. When the iPad mini first came out, iPhones weren't very big. Now they're a lot bigger. Now we're getting iPhones this year with a 6.5-inch display, selling an iPad with a 7.9-inch display and an iPhone with a 6.5-inch. They're really just too close together, and more people just buy big phones than small iPads. What do you think if everything consumer electronics in the future is made by Apple and is closed source? I don't think we're going to get there, Tao Wei, because the most devices on the planet are not Apple products. Most of them are Android or Windows. And they have way too much competition. Apple always will have something for people to complain about. There's plenty of people online that don't like what Apple does and don't buy their products. So I really don't think in the future Apple's going to be everything made by them. And there are actual laws preventing monopolies like that from happening. So I don't think that can happen. If Apple got to a point where all the competition died and they were the only companies making products, then the government would force them to break apart. Yeah. Either way, though, I don't think that's going to happen. That's what happened to phone companies originally. There was only one phone company back in the 1900s, and there was a monopoly over it. So the government broke it apart, and that's how you got Verizon, AT&T, Sprint. They used to all be from one company, but it was too much of a monopoly. What do you think of the Xiaomi Mi 8? It looks like an iPhone 10. Everyone's right. It's a complete duplicate, but hey, that's a very successful, well-selling iPhone. So why not model your Android phone after that?
Because they don't want it to be good.
You can go out the back door too. Oh, okay. By the way, that's all open. Thanks, Dan. Have a good one. That's Dan from Tailosive Movie Reviews, if you want to check out what he was working on. He was screaming in the kitchen all day. Okay, it looks like a 6.1-inch iPhone. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it has some cool features with it, but yeah, how blatant of a duplicate can that be? But I mean, is that new? We see duplicate iPhones all the time. There's always Android phones making iPhone 10 clones. It's not an old thing. Because people just want a phone that looks like an iPhone in China. Who is Dan? That is the man in charge of Tailosive Movie Reviews that I'm also on to. Anyway, but now have a good night, Drew. Have a good night, Lamar. Thanks for tuning in. Dan is funny. Yes, he's a funny guy. Will Apple add a chin? All the other phones have it. I wonder, because it's rumored that the 6.1-inch will be LCD, which means that they can't do the iPhone 10 same size bezel all the way around. That just won't work. So, yeah, I wonder if the LCD. My question is, I'm pretty for sure it's going to have a chin of some sort, because any LCD display needs a chin of some sort. But will it have a chin and a notch? I hope not. I hope that if they do have a chin, they just have a regular forehead. That way, if you don't want an iPhone with a notch, you can have an option to not have it. Do you think it's fine Apple will stick with single Lightning port as opposed to creating a USB-C tablet like my Note 8 and S Pen I make videos with? My question is, what program do you use? Because in my experience, LumaFusion and iMovie are far better than any Android editing app I can find. All the editing apps I find are horrible. I don't think Apple wants to switch because they have too much of a support system for Lightning. They have way too many devices supporting Lightning right now, and they have all these accessories that support Lightning. I don't think they want to switch it to something else. So I'm guessing that Lightning's good enough for them, and they're just going to keep using Lightning. Yeah, LumaFusion is legit. Thank you, Viper. It's extremely customizable, has all these options. Yeah, LumaFusion on iOS is dope. I'd like to hear what the Android editing app to compensate LumaFusion and iMovie is. I'm not sure what it is, but Noobish Expert says, would Apple make an S Pen insertion like Pencil? I don't think so. I don't think Apple thinks stylus on a phone is a good idea. Will you give out wallpapers as Patreon rewards again? Hey, thanks for Zach to the Future. You were one of the first channels I ever appeared as a. You were one of the first channels I let interview me. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad to see you're still watching. Yeah, I would like to. We kind of need to be more adamant about that. Right now, it's more just about giveaways and early access to stuff. Like the next Hello World, you can see if you're a Patreon subscriber already, but not to the public yet. I use KindMaster for green screen videos with effects. Interesting. Okay, KindMaster. I'll have to remember that. All right. I think Apple knows that a stylus on a phone isn't very practical, and artists don't like drawing things on something that small, but they like it on the iPad Pro because of the 120 hertz display. You have a very large canvas here. It's about the size of a piece of paper to draw on. So I think Apple thinks that this is what an iPad is. This is what a device that needs a stylus is, and a smartphone does not. What a stylus is good for is on a touchscreen interface being very precise with what you're tapping. On a smartphone, with the screens being so small, it doesn't really help as much because if you need a stylus to be specific with the UI, it's just a bad UI. So yeah. When's the next giveaway? We haven't decided yet. We're in talks. I know I said I wasn't really interested in doing a giveaway for the 100,000 subscriber special, but a specific fan has offered to sponsor the giveaway himself and give away something that may or may not have an Apple logo on it, just to give away something for the 100K special. So that may or may not be happening, but that might be for everyone. That might not be just for Patreon subscribers. That could be for everyone. Yeah, it sucks. I can't get Android iPad Pro. I'm sorry, Dunk. They've got some. iOS has got some really good editing apps on it. If you like mobile editing, I really recommend you try LumaFusion on iOS sometime. Hey, Apple World's there. It says you're so close to 100K. So proud of you, man. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for your donation. Yeah. I guess you changed. I haven't noticed, but I guess you changed your name to Apple World. That's cool. What's your opinion on the Lenovo Z5? So this is interesting. I don't know if you guys know about the Lenovo Z5. Let me look at the tech specs really quick. But basically, Lenovo, whatever, is teasing this really, really premium smartphone that they claim they had to make all these new patents and new technologies for. So it has no notch, a very bezel-less display, so like a 95% screen to body ratio, no chin, same size bezel all the way around, dual camera with AI, 45 days of standby time. This is the one where I start questioning it. 4 terabytes of internal storage. And I'm like, really? And 30-minute calls can be had at 0% battery. And it's launching on June 14th. And they're said to be unveiling it on June 5th, so the day after the Apple keynote. And I have doubts about that. I have if this does exist, I'm guessing it's like at least $5,000 or something crazy like that. I would actually be kind of interested to see a company that like makes a phone that's so incredibly expensive, but just has all the best specs and all the best features. But I also have some doubts about that. I don't know if I believe those specs or if there's some catch with it. It's actually like not terabits, terabytes. It's terabytes. And I have doubts about that. I'm not sure if I believe that. I think if maybe they're losing some things in translation. Maybe they think 4 terabytes internally counts for cloud storage. Like the phone actually has 256 gigs, but then you can get 4 terabytes of cloud storage. But then why do they call it internal? Internal storage means it's in the phone. Cloud storage is not internal storage. Those are two different things. Yet they're saying the Z5 will have 4 terabytes internal storage. Having 2 terabytes of internal storage on my iMac Pro is an extra, that's an extra $1,500. Now imagine 4 terabytes in a phone. And how we know how storage works, if you shrink it down into a device that's smaller, it's more expensive. And especially when it's an SSD, 4 terabytes in a phone, that phone's going to be like at least $4,000, $5,000. 4 terabytes internally would be over 1,000 already. I'd be kind of interested if this is true. If Lenovo literally just made like a smartphone that's $5,000, but just has really cool display, really cool specs, that would be interesting. I probably would not be able to get it, and I probably would not be able to review it, but that would just be a very cool phone to try out. Lucas says, could you learn basic editing just by using iMovie or LumaFusion? Because I want to edit some vacation videos for presentations. iMovie and LumaFusion are great for editing vacation videos. Yes, some of the videos that took off on Tailosive Tech that made the channel become popular were made on iMovie with my iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil. That's how I started editing videos for Tailosive Tech. I did Premiere for a while, but it was just too complicated and too slow. And when the iPad Pro came out and it could do 4K stuff, I was like, let's do it. So yeah, some of the very most successful and best tech videos that started out and launched this channel were all done with iMovie. You can get good at editing with iPads. It's very basic and easy to understand, and it gets you understanding how to use basic editors. And it's a pretty easy transition if you start moving into laptop and desktop editing. Airport Express support for AirPlay 2 possible? Ooh, I wish I knew that. I'm sorry. I don't have like a modern version of the Airport Express, so I don't know if that's possible. You could probably Google that. Probably someone in the chat may know that. Let's see. If Lenovo makes the phone with their usual build quality, it will get my interest no matter what, even if it doesn't have all the promised specs. I would just be curious to see a smartphone with a 95% screen to body ratio, even if that's not going to make me ditch my iPhone. I'm not gonna suddenly love Android now that there's less bezels, but it would just be interesting to see a phone that could do that. I don't think it'll be cheap though. I don't think that will be an affordable phone, and I don't think it'll be under $1,000, especially if the 4 terabyte internal thing is true. That sounds pretty out there. Let's see. Apple revolutionized and democratized editing video. Oh yeah, they did. Before Apple, there was a video editing was a very hard thing to do. You had to go to some place like a library that had a computer, and you could reserve one for a scheduled amount of time and edit them there. My dad did that because he did videos back in high school. You should have an Apple Sheep Showdown with Xander. What does that even mean? What is an Apple Sheep Showdown? I don't even know what that is. In case you're curious, though, for people who don't know Xander, you might get to know him a little bit better because, for one, he's in the next episode of Hello World, which is a first. Most of the time, it's just me, but he got some screen time in the next Hello World, which will be on Tailosive Talks. So please subscribe to that to get the vlogs and to get the Hello Worlds. Please check that out. But also, when we react to the WWDC on Monday, he will be supposedly joining with me. He says he wants to watch it with me. Should I cheat on my final exams tomorrow? Asks Hussein. You're asking the wrong guy, dude, because I hate school. I cheated on things in school because I knew I would forget about it and I knew it wouldn't matter. And I turned out to be right because I've never made a resume in my life. So my grades in high school have had no effect on my career. But it was probably wrong for me to assume that. It was probably wrong for me to think that YouTube was going to work out, so I don't need to actually. I'm a college dropout. I didn't graduate college. I did graduate high school, but barely. I was really not showing much interest or showing much attention to school my last year. So if you have some other career where the exam isn't going to matter, I guess. Why not ease the stress? But I mean, some people, when they cheat, they're more stressful. But I don't know. That's immoral. Cheating is bad. No one's denying that. I agree. Cheating is bad. Don't do what I did. However, what I did turned out to not have any consequences, and that's why I did it. It's because I knew it wouldn't have any consequences. My teachers were so bad, though. They didn't read things. They didn't grade things. They just kind of looked at it and made sure if it was there. And if it was there, if there was a page full of words on it, they would stamp you and give you credit. So, yeah, it was bad. Thank you, Dominic, for super chatting. Did Drew survive in Infinity War? I don't feel so good. Rub it in your parents' face that college is bad. Well, now my parents and my family all want to do what I'm doing. Now my mom and dad are doing vlogs. They're recording that they go on motorcycle trips and they're filming those trips. And my dad's like, so how can I make money on this? Because I want to retire from teaching and I want to become a vlogger and I want to make videos full time. I want to do this, and I'm trying to explain to him that YouTube's pretty hard to make money on now because of all the new rules they're implementing. Which we have a giant Hello World on Tailosive Talks that's about to drop. I think it's the longest. It's the longest Hello World we've ever made. I think it's like 21 minutes. It's huge because it's just talking about how YouTube has made it terrible for up and coming creators. No, neither of my parents are redheads. It's a recessive genes. But yeah, they're both making videos now and they're uploading them. They're not on YouTube. They're on a different platform, but you know, they're cute, and I like what they're doing because they're educational. They'll visit a place and talk about the history of stuff, and they'll talk about what they see there, and they'll show themselves riding around on their motorcycle. They're just a very cute couple, and I'm very happy that my parents still love each other and are together because I know that's not very common. So I'm very grateful for that. Poll, Drew in chat, Apple Music or Spotify? Apple Music. HomePod, there you go. Done. They both do the same exact thing. I don't know why there's this big debate between them. It's like, if you don't like Apple products, Spotify probably is better. If you like Apple products, Apple Music's probably better. It's that about easy. It's not too complicated. Hussein, just JK, love your videos, keep it up. And also, if Apple suddenly shut down, what ecosystem would you use? I don't think I could use just one company's. If Apple suddenly ceased to exist, which would take a lot given they're the richest company in the world, I would probably have to use a combination of Android phone and Windows desktop because there's not some other company that can match this ecosystem. It doesn't exist. Samsung has to use Android and Windows in order to complete their ecosystem. So that would be a combination of Microsoft products and Google products. So not answering your question because there's 286 people watching. So it's very hard to see every single question. Thank you for chatting with me. I'm going to go now. Love your work. Hope you will see the light of Samsung one day. Dunk, thank you for the super chat, but I've tried. I've used an S9 Plus. It was not an enjoyable experience. I didn't enjoy it. And I don't know how you can teach me how to enjoy it, but I feel like if you have to teach someone how to enjoy something, then it's probably just not for that person in particular. Have you tried to collaborate recently? I've appeared on many other YouTube channels. I've been on Paul Grossclose's channel. I've been on Ben Obi podcast channel. I was on Front Page Text channel a while ago. I was on Painfully Honest Text channel a while ago. I was on Zach to the Future's channel. I've made appearances across many other channels, but not recently. No, we've been pretty busy. Yeah, Samsung is kind of a boring company. They're kind of innovative in technology, but they definitely don't know when to protect it. They basically will just. Oh, sorry. Avertify asked if I was into cars. Not really, other than my Tesla. I like because it's smart. I want to get to a point where I don't have to drive my car. That's the only car I'll be interested in, is a car that drives itself. Any drone opinions? Drones are very expensive, cool tools that are good for like 4 seconds, and then the shot gets boring. I don't like drone footage. Looks really dope, but you can really only show it for a short amount of time before the audience is like, okay, we get it. There's drone compilation videos, but I'm just not that interested in them. I mean, it's a lot of money, in my opinion, to spend on a shot that looks cool for just a couple of seconds. Because if you're filming a documentary or a short film or something and you just show footage of a drone, even if it's 10 seconds, the audience will just get bored. It's really cool for little cutaway shots, but that's about it. So that's why I don't have one. What kinds of music are you into? Well, if you want to know, you could check out Tailosive Music on YouTube. We have a channel that uploads pretty much daily. In fact, I think they just uploaded a video while I was live streaming. This is a fan-made account, but it's backed by me, and it's still officially Tailosive. The guy running this channel is a part of Tailosive officially. And Tailosive Music just uploaded 22 minutes ago. So as we're wrapping up the stream here, because we're coming near the end of our hour, you can check out the remixes there. Or if you want to see what kind of music I follow on Apple Music, you can follow me on Apple Music at Tailosive Tech. I don't get anything from that. I don't post anything. But if you're just curious of what I listen to on Apple Music, I'm on Apple Music at Tailosive Tech. But drones are not just video. It's also the fun of just flying it. Yeah, I mean, See, my friend Ross, who I've known ever since I was an infant, has been a RC guy. He just makes RC planes and RC helicopters himself, and he's done that basically ever since we were in elementary school. So RC stuff is not really what I think of when people are asking about drones, because usually it's DJI or it's the Mavic or the stuff that can film and you can watch from it. But I've been watching my friends and family fly drones and stuff like that for years and years and years. And I kind of get bored with it, maybe just because I've been talking about it and I've been watching it, and it's just, no, it's flying. And it's fun and it's cool that you make it. But when people just buy it and then they fly out of the box, it kind of destroys the novelty of it for me. Because when I was growing up, me and my friends, we were building them. We were putting them together and then flying them. But when you just buy them and fly them, it's like, okay, yep, it's flying. It is a flying object. If you want to fly something for fun, yeah, get an RC helicopter or a plane. They're like $10 or $20. A drone is like a $500 GPS link up with a camera that can record and do all that. That's different. And I don't really get shocked by that because I've seen so much of it. It's not amazing to me. It's kind of like when GoPros first got popular. It was really cool that you had this sports camera that was small and you could see POV, but now no one really cares about that. I'm kind of that way with drone footage, because even my friends, when they were making drones, we would attach tiny cameras to the drones and watch the footage from them after flying them. And so I've been looking at drone footage my whole life, and it's just not impressive or unique anymore to me. It's just kind of average, normal stuff. What do you think about the recent DMCA abuses on YouTube? Have you ever personally gotten copy striked despite fair use? I've gotten claimed for using footage, but I haven't gotten a copyright strike. No, we have gotten a copyright strike on Tailosive movie reviews because we used footage from a movie, and then the publisher of that movie strike the video down. But no, on Tailosive Tech, I haven't gotten any copyright strikes. There are definitely a lot of abuses, though. Absolutely. I completely see the problem. YouTube has a bunch of problems. That's for sure one of them. Luckily, Tech Channel doesn't really have to worry about that too much. So I'm glad that our main source of income isn't affected by that very much, because most of what we do is just pictures and footage of me. So I'm not worried about that. But yeah, we've reached our hour here. So thank you, Sam, for super chatting. And we're now going to be, Vertify looks like it's the last one. Apocalypse hits, Apple is dead, every other computer is fine. What is your new computer and phone daily drivers? I don't know. I would say essential, but no, they're not doing too good. I'm probably going to go with a Galaxy S9 and try to alter the skin so that it's more useful. Maybe the Huawei P20 or something. Probably a Surface for desktops and laptops. I'd use a Surface Pro or a Surface Book and a Surface Studio to replace my iMac, but with a Samsung phone. But I really don't like the S9 skin, so I'd have to do a lot of tinkering with it. Let's hope the Pixel 3 is the same size bezel all the way around. And if it is that, I would probably go with the Pixel, but I can't justify the price of the Pixel 2 right now for what you get out of it. It's just not worth it. Kristen, thank you, is the final super chatter of the evening. So thank you guys, or mid-afternoon. Thank you guys for super chatting. It's a very good phone, Drew. I've used it. I didn't like it. I don't enjoy the S9. I would never choose to use the S9. But luckily, Apple's not going to be going down. So, Viper is the last super chatter from Captain of Team Apple. Please check out Viper's channel, guys. He's hilarious. All right, Lucas is the last super chatter of the evening. Thank you very, very much for all of your super chats and all of your questions. If you feel like your question is not getting answered here on YouTube because there's too many people watching, I highly recommend you check out our Twitch, because there's way less people watching that. You're far more likely to get your comment read. We talk about all kinds of stuff on our Twitch. The link to our Twitch is now in the chat if you want to check it out. And we stream on there almost every single day. Vertify is the final super chatter of the evening. Thanks, man. Good talking with you. Have a great day. Thank you very much for the super chats. Super chatting's okay. That's okay. I've got other things to go to. I'm going to go visit my girlfriend and then work on the iOS 12 video. Thank you, guys. Hope you all have a good day. Take care.